Hello, this is Bill Steffen. Thanks so much for checking out my video today. The big story continues to be the chance of severe weather as we head toward the evening on Friday evening. We're currently looking at just a conditional possibility of severe thunderstorms, but if it heats up and everything comes together, it's going to be an interesting evening, that's for sure. Storm Prediction Center has not really changed their outlook area in the last 24 hours. It still stretches from northern Texas all the way on up toward central and southern lower Michigan. And here's what they say. They say from a scattered thunderstorm development is expected to continue northward into the Great Lakes region, would favor training and clustering of thunderstorms through time. Given broad region of favorable training and clustering, storms will be capable of large hail and damaging winds. Now, again, the best time for this would be in the evening. Much of the day on Friday, it will not be raining. There'll be rain Thursday night into early Friday morning. There'll be kind of a break for the afternoon, and then any storms that develop will be rolling in here during the evening hours, probably around or a little after sunset. We'll take a look at what the Grand Rapids National Weather Service says. They have this to say: a conditional threat of severe weather Friday evening into the early overnight hours, coinciding with the arrival of a slow-moving cold front from the west. The primary hazards in any storms that develop will be large hail and damaging winds. Notice neither Grand Rapids nor the Storm Prediction Center have mentioned tornadoes. I guess certainly that's not out of the realm of possibility, but they're kind of downplaying that as opposed to picking up on the possibility for some hail and strong winds. As previously noted, severe weather will be conditional. That means we have to get the warm air in and have the instability necessary to create these big storms. And that would be again for Friday evening. We're going to take time out to thank our sponsors right now. We'll be back to talk about who's getting snow today.
And Complete Care Concierge is your fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service serving all of West Michigan. They can clean your home, your apartment, your condo. They can clean your office or your business. They can do one-time cleans, or they can clean on whatever schedule you need. They even clean on the weekends. If you're wondering if they're in your area, they are. And you can support our show and their small business by using Complete Care Concierge for all your cleaning needs. Call 616-264-1397. 616-264-1397. And here's a word from our other sponsor.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Well, here's a look at how much rain we're going to get in the next 72 hours. They're going to get a bit of a break out there in the Pacific Northwest, just a few lighter showers around Seattle. But look at all the precipitation in the mountains out west. The Rocky Mountains really getting rain and snow at the higher elevations. Then we got the rain here in the Great Lakes that extends down toward Texas. And a bubble of sunny and warm weather is going on in the southeastern U.S., where temperatures are well up into the 80s. I can't even rule out a 90 or two down there, especially down toward Florida. Well, let's take a look at zoomed into Michigan here, and we have Grand Rapids highlighted. If you look down the list here, it gives you a percent chance that we'll see a certain amount of rain. So it's pretty certain we're going to see some rain. It's got a better than 90% chance that we'll see a quarter of an inch of rain, but 0% chance of at least 2 inches of rain. So I think most of us are looking at around half an inch of rain. You can see where the darker greens are down in Indiana, and also from the Grand Rapids area off to the north. And again, this would be rain, no snow with this, too warm for that Thursday night and early Friday. In terms of snow, look who's getting the snow. It's out in the western United States, a little residual snow in upstate New York and up into Maine, but the Rockies going to get clobbered once again, and they've had a good amount of snow out there in parts of the Rockies. Many of the ski resorts are still open for some Easter weekend skiing. We got a couple of pictures to share with you here from out west. This is how it looked this afternoon at Glacier National Park. That's one of the entrances to the park, and you can see it's been snowing up there. And then on the right side, we have Mount Washburn at Yellowstone National Park. It's still plenty of snow on the ground there. We checked the webcams at Mount Rainier National Park, and they still have some pretty heavy-duty snow on the ground there in some of the higher elevations. Okay, headlines, partly sunny skies, warmer today. There'll be a little bit more sun in the morning than there will be during the afternoon, but even in the afternoon, it should be pleasant. We're going to see a temperature rise of 30 degrees today, with temperatures going from the low 30s in the morning up into the low to mid 60s here during the afternoon. Winds today are going to be out of the south-southeast, and because of that, it'll be just as warm at the lakeshore as it will be inland. So I would go for a high of 64 in Grand Rapids. I'd go for a high of 65 today in Grand Haven and in Muskegon. Even out on the ends of the pier there, it should be fairly mild. Good chance of showers, though, for Thursday night. Here's the way it looks for today. We're looking at temperatures to make it up into the mid-60s during the afternoon. And it looks as if humidity levels will be dry during the day at 40%. And then that wind a little brisk at times out of the southeast at 10 to 20 miles an hour. So here's a look at what we expect across the area here over the next 3 days or so. We'll start out with high temperatures here for Thursday at low to mid 60s for just about everybody. Coolest temperatures will be up around Ludington. Friday, look at that, 67 to 77. It will be a bit cooler near Lake Michigan, but temperatures from Grand Rapids to the south should reach the mid 70s. If we get thunderstorms, they would come very early in the day and very late in the day. So the bulk of the day, it will not be thunderstorming. Cooler temperatures for Saturday. It may actually be about 61 Saturday at 12:01 a.m. Readings will probably be in the 50s here during the afternoon. Now we'll take a look at the individual forecasts here, and you'll have to kind of squint to see the numbers there, but look at that number near Greenville at 77 degrees. This is for Friday. I skipped Thursday. I'm just going to give you Friday, Saturday, and Easter Sunday. But that orange color is temperatures in the 70s here. In fact, Chicago gets an 80 here for Friday afternoon before a thunderstorm might reach them. Still warm up in the UP, not as warm as here, but mid 50s ought to be melting that snow, and they're going to get some rain on top of it. So there'll be some rivers rise into bank full early next week up in upper Michigan. For Saturday, we cool off, cloudy day, can't rule out some showers. Best bet for that would be down toward the Indiana border. The farther south you are, the better the chance for rain on Saturday. Temperatures will be in the mid 50s in the afternoon, back into the 40s, low to mid 40s up along the Lake Superior shoreline. And then finally for Easter Sunday, we got a lot of green out there. Temperatures will be in the 50s. Again, the possibility for some rain. Another slug of rain is likely to reach us Sunday night or during the day on Monday. So certainly a wetter pattern coming up. If you like dry ground, get out there today because, like I said, we're headed toward a little wetter pattern here across the area. Taking a look at the 5-day forecast here, increase in clouds this afternoon, but much of the day should be dry, some sun, especially in the morning to midday. Friday, shower thunderstorm in the early morning or during the evening. And we have to throw in a chance of showers for Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday. It won't be raining all the time. And as we get north of a front, it will be cooler with temperatures here only in the low to maybe mid 50s at best here for Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday. So not the best weather for Easter Sunday, but Easter is always a special day, and temperatures should be up into the low to mid 50s here during the afternoon. Don't see any sign of any frost after early tomorrow morning here. Long-range outlook says temperatures warmer than average over much of the United States, especially in the southern United States. There'll be quite a few days during that period, which will be at least in the 60s here in West Michigan. That will bring the tulips out, and it should bring some of the blossoms out here as well. And rainfall should be a little bit above average here, so we're headed toward a warm and fairly wet pattern to close out the month of April. So, Michelle, I got to tell you something kind of interesting here. Oh, look at this. We got photos here. I wanted to show you something here. Somebody put a teddy bear on my desk downstairs. I'm trying to figure out who that was. We had work people here today. Some of Mother's friends were around here, but I'm greeted by that. And I have a piggy bank here, too, on my desk.
What kind of teddy bear?
Get one more here. We have a duck. Okay.
Yes.
Whack, whack.
I remember the duck. I think I remember the piggy bank. I think it was Julie's. But what's the bear? Can I see the bear?
There was, but cute little teddy bear saying hi to everybody out there.
Yeah, I don't recognize the bear. Well, it
Well,
wasn't me. I've been in Alabama the whole time.
yeah. Well, you've had spring down there. You got the leaves on the trees yet?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, no leaves on the trees here. We got some buds on the maples and the weeping willows. But boy, look at that picture. That looks like winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a beautiful picture.
Randall, thanks for sending that along to us. That's Lake Superior near Grand Marais. There are still places south of Grand Marais when you get up on a little higher elevation and where there's forested up there on the north slopes, where they have literally 25 to 30 inches of snow left on the ground. I mean, they could melt an inch a day and it would last in the mid-May. So it does indeed look like winter out there, and Lake Superior is going to stay pretty chilly here right into the early part of summer. One of the weather buoys, buoys in the lake, was lost last summer or fall. Was it ever found? I haven't had an update on that, but I should write and find out. I mean, it would have come on shore somewhere, I would think.
So tell the whole story. There was a
Okay.
water buoy. Where was it?
Okay, there was one of the buoys out in Lake Michigan, just offshore of Muskegon. They
Mhm.
left in all last winter, and last winter was a fairly mild winter.
Did that
And so
happen
it
on
stayed out
purpose, or did
there,
they?
and that meant the ships got wave reports, and we got reports of strong winds coming on shore and all that. It's nice to have a buoy out there.
Did they leave it there on purpose, or did it
Oh
was it
yes,
by mistake?
yes. And they have what's called a spotter buoy that they left in this year. But this year was a little tougher winter, and at some point in time, the buoy broke loose from its chain, and it was still transmitting, which was really weird because the buoy is normally kind of, it's on a chain, but it's kind of fixed in one little area there. But the buoy would kind of go along with the wind, and it would bounce from one side of the lake to the other, the central part of Lake Michigan. We it's really kind of funny because it was kind of like Where's Waldo? I mean, you got
So
all
it
this
needed an Apple AirTag, is what you're saying?
something like that, I guess. So anyhow, I don't know if the buoy is. They just
No
assumed that
word.
somebody
Yeah.
would find it, and they would call somebody and say, "Hey, we got your buoy here." Um, but yeah, and the new buoys should be coming in soon. They're as soon as they get a really warm day, they may think about putting those in. In the old days, they waited till Memorial Day to Labor Day, and I was the one when I first got here back 50 years ago. That I said, there's plenty of good boating weather in September and in May. You got the some of the salmon fishermen will go out as soon as the ice breaks.
Mhm.
So I said it's nice to have those buoy reports, and if there's any way that you can deploy those any earlier or later, and they've done a good job of the Army Corps of Engineers, I believe, puts in some of the buoys, and they just do a great job of getting them in and then getting them out again. So they'll have to reevaluate whether they want to do that again in a tough winter when you got a lot of gales. And just the other day we had a 58-mile-an-hour wind reported by a ship out in Central Lake Michigan. It's kind of risky to have that out there, but
We learned yesterday wind is caused by differences in air pressure.
yep, that's
Oh, I'm
that's
paying
true.
attention.
And I'll tell you something interesting about a lake like Lake Michigan. If you have the same wind, let's say the wind is southwest at 20 miles an hour, that will make bigger waves in the fall than in the spring. In the spring, the lake is cold, and a layer of cold water, especially on top of the lake there, and in the fall, the lake is warmer, and that causes the wind to pick up just a little bit, and it produces bigger waves. So you can have a day when it's really windy in April, and the waves aren't that terribly high if it's really warm out, and the lake is cold. There's that difference. But in the fall, it's like the opposite. You get cold air, you get warm water, and you get lake effect clouds and sometimes lake effect snow.
All right, we've got to circle back to a couple of things from yesterday. Mount Arvon. This time I double checked like 10 times to make sure we spelled it correctly. The highest point in Michigan is Mount Arvon. It is 1,979 feet. And how does that compare? By comparison, Mount Washington in New Hampshire is 6,288 feet.
Right. Denali is over 20,000 feet, and there are a couple of dozen peaks in Colorado that are over 14,000 feet. So, but Mount Arvon is a pretty big mountain, and they do take weather observations up there. Oh, you found a picture. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And you can go to the top. So it's debated on the internet how much of a view there is. People say there's been some work to make the view better. There's hikes of varying distances. Some people say there's about an 11-mile hike. Some people say it's more like 2. Others say that you can drive pretty close and walk right to the top.
Yeah. In Wisconsin, for many decades, Rib Mountain was the highest point, and it's a beautiful, large hill in Wisconsin. And they built a tower there with you can be the tallest person in the state of Wisconsin. Well, then, with GPS and everything, they determined that there was another hill that was like 10 feet higher. So,
Oh, this is similar. They thought another nearby mountain was the tallest one, but then resurveyed it, and it's actually this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had several states that have changed their highest point. And in fact, I think even Mount Everest is a foot lower than it was. And that may be, people kicking the rocks off the top of the mountain when they get up there. I don't know, so many people climb Mount Everest. Interesting.
So, Mount Arvon. So the other thing that we talked about yesterday was Quimby and Quincy. So I did a little bit more research on that. Quincy, east of Coldwater on US 12, population 1,500 as of the 2020 census, and it is named after Quincy, Massachusetts. So there's Quincy. And now Quimby, an unincorporated community in Berry County, Michigan. There is a road that runs south of Hastings called Quimby Road, and I saw at least one. There might be 2 because the one that I found was named the second Quimby schoolhouse. So at least one-room schoolhouse and a train station. And then there's also a Quimby family from Grand Rapids that has some of their family history preserved in the Grand Rapids Public Library. And I think they might have been involved in the logging industry, but I'm not 100% on that.
So you can start out in Glen, our favorite town, and get some pancakes. And then in the afternoon, you can walk around Quimby. Kind of neat.
Yep. So we figured out the difference, Quimby and Quincy. And Grand Rapids Civic Theater has a new show opening on April 18, and that is The Color Purple. So make your plans to go and see the show.
It's a great organization. It really is. And I actually know somebody that's been in civic theater plays. Any idea who that might be?
I think you actually know several people who have been in Grand
Yes,
Rapids
I have.
Theater
I do,
plays.
yes. Including Michelle, daughter number 3. Why don't you
Yes,
tell everybody what you did?
I feel like this is one of those stories that I did something literally, like it was even more than 20 years ago, and I'm still talking about it. Like I played JV football once in the 80s.
That you were in Annie.
Yes.
You were July in Annie.
Yes. And Alyssa Garcia Bauer, who goes to our church, or the church that I went to growing up, has been in Grand Rapids Civic Theater, everything. And she was also featured in the North Point Christian Alumni Newsletter this month, which I read.
I saw that. Plus, she was just in the program on Carole King.
Yes. And so many people from Civic have gone on to do so many amazing things.
Right. Well, I think that role was just made for Alyssa. That really was Carole King. I mean, she can play piano, she can sing, she can memorize lines, which I could never do.
Yes, but I'm not one of them. I was in 2 plays in the 1990s, and then I became a lawyer. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right.
Okay. On April 17, 1802, Detroit established the first city tax in Michigan. Every adult was taxed 25 cents, so the tax raked in $150.
I think we've had some inflation since then.
Yes. When did Grand Rapids establish their city tax? And here's your hint. I Want to Hold Your Hand was the #1 song that year.
Wow. I'll guess 1963.
Very good. You did
Close.
so good. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. That's interesting. Municipalities have been adding taxes. I know there's a city income tax in Walker, and they've been adding that. In fact, April 14th or whatever, I just paid my city tax.
I remember you talking when I was young, not being thrilled that you had to pay the city tax, even though we weren't residents.
Well, I think that considering the amount of money that comes in from out of state, that they should give us a free pass to the swimming pools or something like that. I think that would be a nice gesture to thank us for keeping the roads together and all that.
And some of them do tax at different rates for residents and non-residents.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of, the Grand Rapids City Pools are awesome. Richmond, so much fun.
Yep, right.
And also a good place to go sledding.
Briggs and Martin Luther King Park, I think, are the 3 pools that are open now, with lifeguards. So that's kind of neat.
This Ford model made its debut to the public on April 17, 1964. It is the topic of a 1965 Mac Rice song originally titled Mama instead of Sally.
Mustang Sally. And I'm not going to start singing it because people will click off the show. Ford Mustang, yes, indeed. I think it's my wife's favorite car, but we've never had one.
Debuted at the New York World's Fair with a ride designed by Walt Disney, where you got to ride in one and check out the features. And it sold much beyond projections for what it would sell in its first year.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And the base model you said was $2,368, huh?
$24,000 in today's dollars.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty good deal.
So well, I drive a Ford Mustang Mach-E, but people have strong opinions about whether it's a real Mustang or not.
Oh, well, it's
people either think it's cool or they make silly faces at it.
One of the reporters at Channel 8 has had a Mustang for many, many decades, and it looks really nice. Red. Neat car.
So that got me thinking about rides, which got me wondering, what is the oldest roller coaster operating at Cedar Point?
Well, that's interesting. Is it the mine ride, which is the
mine ride wasn't first, but that is also a good one.
Okay. Blue Streak.
There you go. Yes, I knew that you would know it. All right. Open in May.
You know what I thought? I don't want to suggest this to anybody. What I thought, is that still there? Is Blue Streak still there? Did they tear it down?
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, it'd be kind of an interesting joke to put a couple of nuts and bolts down on the sidewalk as you go underneath it, as you're starting to go on in, because
I'm sure
it kind of jostles you a little bit, like it's going to, break apart or something like that.
So in 1964, you could pay your Grand Rapids City tax, then you could get in your Mustang and drive down to Cedar Point and ride the Blue Streak.
Yep. And they had a lot of softer rides back then. I mean, people have gone for the faster roller coasters, over the last 30 years or so. But in the old days, they had, I remember a little pull cart that you'd pull with your hands and you'd sit down on it. And there were the old time cars that would go really slow. There was a train that meandered through the park there.
I think the modern roller coasters are a young man's game. I don't think I'd be interested in much more than the Blue Streak.
No, that's the same thing with me too. I'm too old to be doing that. I lost a watch on the Avalanche run. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And they tried very hard to find it. They really did. We couldn't find it, but it was on when I went on, because I looked at the time. I looked at my watch, and it wasn't there when we finished.
So between the Avalanche run, the log run, and Whitewater Landing, which was your favorite?
Oh, wow. Probably the log run, because I got to go up high and look around at the clouds and whatnot and look out over Lake Erie.
I would have to say Whitewater Landing.
Yeah, I like the rides that were slow and not fast. I'm an old fogey, I guess.
So if you're listening at home, sometimes as part of the advertising packages, the TV stations would end up with tickets to these parks. Mm-hmm. So when we were kids, we ended up doing lots of family trips to Cedar Point and Michigan Adventure and Pleasure Island. And it was often what we did for our summer vacation. And it was so much fun. So
it was. Those are great places to be. Just fantastic places to be.
So that's why we know our Cedar Point
on a hot day in summer.
Mm-hmm. And the year that I wore cleats because I wasn't quite tall enough for the cutoff for the Gemini, which I don't remember what it was. And you guys let me wear my soccer cleats, which in retrospect was really not safe. Don't do that.
I don't remember that. I don't remember having anything to do with that.
I wore my soccer cleats the entire day so that I would be tall enough to go on that ride.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, of course. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know whose idea that was, but it was effective and not a good idea.
When did Deer Park Funland become Michigan's Adventure? That's a trivia question we should look at.
Yeah, I think we might have done that one before, but we'll look it up again.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I remember when it was Deer Park Funland and it had the deer and it had the kids rides and then it had the merry-go-round, and the three of us could all fit in one row in the merry-go-round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are fun places to be. Those happy golden years when you had the kids there. Yep.
And then another thing I found out is that the Blue Streak is named after the Sandusky High School Blue Streaks. So that's a good way to come up
Was
with
that
a name.
their nickname?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well,
Right?
that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Blue
Okay.
Streak. Sounds like lightning.
This Central American country declared independence on April 17, 1839. It borders Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize.
Okay. Where is the?
Unfortunately, I don't have good cutouts of.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see a picture coming up here on my. All right. Let's give me two once again. I think I've kind of locked up here.
It borders Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize.
Would that be Guatemala?
Very good, Guatemala.
Yeah,
Guatemala declared independence from the United Provinces of Central America. And what 5 countries formed the United Provinces of Central America? And I'll give you a hint. The acronym is CHENG, C-H-E-N-G, one for each country. And fun fact, CHENG is the Chinese word for success. So if you can come up with these countries, you'll be successul.
Okay,
so
CHENG is with an E for El Salvador, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize,
mm-hmm.
Panama's down there. I don't know if they count or not.
No, that's not one of them. I think you're just missing the C.
Costa Rica.
Very good.
Yeah,
Costa Rica, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. And they were a united group for those years and then became independent countries.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. My Uncle Felix went down there through Central America on a motorcycle.
Wow.
He and his wife, Dorothy, both went down and they could
From
speak
Chicago?
Yeah, they could speak Spanish. They went all the way down into Central America and back. There's the Damien, what is it? The Damien Forest or something like that, which is kind of hard to get through between Panama and Colombia. But yeah, he was an adventurous guy. I told you he was the guy that spent 2 years of World War II in the country of India, fixing motorcycles for the Brits.
That is quite an adventure.
Yeah. I remember riding with him on the back of his great big Harley, and my mother going, "You're not supposed to go with him. I don't really like this. John, are you going to approve this?" And my dad would just kind of go,
helmet laws?
"Oh, whatever."
Were there helmet laws?
Uncle Felix would just take us around the block in the motorcycle. So that was fun.
Okay, so Holy
Didn't wear a helmet. At the time, Uncle Felix did. He had a really nice helmet, best you could buy, and really thick leather jacket and pants. So he was in good shape.
You too let me ride a motorcycle a couple of times when I was 8-10 years old.
Mom had a motorcycle when she was a senior in high school.
It had to do with rides to Bible choir. There was someday I needed to get there and you all didn't have a ride, and the ride that you worked out for me involved a motorcycle. So that's how I got to Bible choir for the week.
Well, Uncle Charlie had a motorcycle.
And I remember you guys telling me, just hang on. So that's what I did.
Just hang on. Yep.
Okay, so Holy Thursday commemorates the washing of the feet and the Last Supper. So lots of services to be had Thursday and Friday. And this was just the service information for Holy Trinity Parish, which is at the end of our street. So lots of that the next couple days. And just a silly question to end on. What is your favorite type of M&Ms?
Favorite type of M&Ms? Peanut.
You got your plain, your peanut butter, almond. That time they thought crispy was a good idea.
I don't know. Can you still see me? Because I've locked up here. Hang on just a second.
Yeah,
I'm going to reach over here and get my M&Ms. Look at this.
Excellent. I tried to find how many M&Ms the average American eats in a year, and I couldn't find it.
First time eating an M&M on YouTube.
Wow.
Yummy.
Something new every day.
Go back.
I would also say peanut M&Ms. Peanut M&Ms are my go-to when I'm taking a really early morning flight, I like to bring water and peanut M&Ms because you never know what's going to happen.
They are awesome. Hershey, Pennsylvania. Cheers to you.
Okay, so thank you to all the new people that we had join. Every once in a while, the word gets out and we get a big spike in our numbers. So welcome, everyone. You can help our channel grow by telling your friends where they can find Bill here on YouTube and by hitting that subscribe button. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll let Bill sign us off.
Yeah, I want to remind everybody that chance for severe weather here Friday evening. So we got a pretty good day coming up today, this Thursday, but some showers and thunderstorms for Thursday late night into Friday morning. And most of Friday is dry, and there's that chance for a heavy thunderstorm Friday evening. So we'll be updating the blog here. Hope you have yourself a fantastic day.